Hey, everybody. Welcome to Monday Mindset Training. And in today's session, I have with me a special guest, and she is brand coach, Kaye Guerrero. And we are going to talk about how to get your voice heard through your brand. So I feel that, branding is one of the most important um, component, especially when you are starting a business or wanting to be able to up level your business and bring it out into the world and make you be remembered. But anyway, we're going to talk more about branding later on. And before I formally introduce you to Kay, I would first like to just welcome you and then say thank you for being part of the Facebook group. And this is the sisterhood that we have here is for empowered women like you who want to be seen, to be heard, and to make an impact in the world through the power of your stories. And every other week, I'll do my best to bring in a guest, and I feel that it's also very important having other minds or with like-minded people come in and share with us their insights, their knowledge about a certain topic or a certain topic, especially when it comes to entrepreneurship, personal development, and raising the level of consciousness that we have, because that is actually my intention is for you to be able to expand your knowledge and to continue feeding your learning and inspire you to take action and make your own mark in the world. So, if you find these sessions valuable, please feel free to invite the people whom you think can benefit from these sessions. And now, let me go ahead and introduce you to my guest. So, Kaye Guerrero is has a marketing experience that spans for about 20 years. And her first branding work was actually as a designer and editor for her church newsletter. It's a publication she created and named Reflections. So since then, Kay has worked in both corporate and corporate settings and small business environments, serving clients in various industries such as public relations, incentive, travel, real estate, and telecommunications. So she has her own business, and it's called New Mama Media. And it's where she provides customized branding services as well as one on one and group coaching to ensure her clients' brands are set up for success. And now she is here with us. And she's also the creator of the Build Your Brand in 5 Days in Facebook. And I'm just really happy to have her here. And so let me go right ahead and welcome her and add her in the stream. Hi, Kay.
Hey Francis, how are you? Hey
Hi.
everybody.
So, Kay, first off, thank you so much for saying yes to my invitation. When I first found you in Sage's, I think it was the 7 day live Facebook live challenge that she has,
Yes.
and I saw you won one of the prizes there, and I saw your Facebook group, and I thought that, hey, this is actually really great, and I decided to like tap you because not only you're good at branding, but you're also originally from the Philippines, and I felt like there's a certain affinity there already. And I said, wow, that's awesome to actually find somebody um who I feel is also like, already I felt that the closeness somehow, and I hope you do too. So anyway, Kay, welcome. And I think we'll just start off by asking you, um, and you have a very interesting story that you shared actually you actually shared in the group, in Sage's group.
Yeah.
And I want I want to hear about it and probably share it with the group as well and how you came to be a brand coach.
Awesome. Well, Francis, first of all, thank you so much once again. I'm deeply, deeply honored to be here and to connect with you and to be a guest in your group. I feel like the things that we do with Big Impact Story and New Mama Media really
Yeah.
nicely blends itself and ties in together. How I started, like you said, I've been in branding for 20 years. That was in year 2000 when I started doing that. I wouldn't say it's an accidental branding gig, right? I was a volunteer um, designer and editor for my church newsletter, and it was just something that I liked to do. It was just a hobby, and I didn't realize at that time that I was branding, right? And then over the years, as I started going through journalism school and going to work, picking up an actual corporate job. I was in corporate setting for 6 years. um, Everything just kind of lended itself to the whole look and feel aspect of things, the layout
Mm-hmm.
of things. And so, even though my background is in journalism and copywriting and all that stuff, I actually was drawn more to the layout and the design and the whole overall look of things. And so, um, when I started, I quit my job in 2010 to be a full time stay at home mom, right? But I realized even though I quit my corporate job, I continued branding on my own, whether it is for my own personal brands or for my family's brands or for my friends' brands, right? I never really stopped branding. And so, even though I didn't think of it that way as, oh, I was branding, like creating logos for my
Mm-hmm.
friends or my kids' birthday parties or things like that. I was for a bit a party stylist, right? Because I figured I was doing it so much for my kids, why not do it for friends? And I realized that, when you create a logo for a kid's birthday party or a color scheme for a baby shower or whatever for your friend, you're actually branding that event.
Mm-hmm.
So I realized over the years I never really stopped branding. It was just that thing that came very naturally to me. And so in 2016, when this like real opportunity, I want to say real opportunity because I really had to now brand it, right? My husband was laid off or was going to get laid off from his job at that time. And the good thing about it is we got notice, right? We got a
Mm-hmm.
few years, I want to say a few months notice. So we had time to plan things out. And he said, "Kay, I don't want to do a corporate job anymore." He was in accounting for, I want to say, 13 years at that time. And he said, "I want to pursue my passion." He's always wanted to build a car wash business, right? But at that time, we were like, maybe we'll start that in the Philippines
Mm-hmm.
eventually, right? Or because here to start like a brick and mortar business in the U.S. is kind of like crazy expensive, right?
Yeah.
So at that time, when we started exploring that, as we did the research and the competitive analysis and the market analysis, we were like, oh my gosh, we can actually do this. So we innovated and we decided to do a mobile car wash business, right, where he would go to his client's job, clients' homes or places of work and serve there and serve and clean their cars there, right? And I said, okay, we can actually do this. But that thing that I said, if we're gonna do this, we're gonna do it right from the start. And I told him I'm gonna help you brand your business, right? So again, I'm not being paid for it. I'm just doing it because
Mm-hmm.
this was the thing that I knew how to do. So we gave his business a name. We gave his business a logo. We gave his business a color scheme, right? Photos. Um, Typography. Even now as I'm thinking back to it, it's like these are the things that I'm teaching my clients to do now, but those were the very things that we did at that time. And so when we did that, now I'm going to be honest, it took a while for it to take off, right? When you're starting a business from scratch, it
Yeah.
doesn't mean like overnight it's going to be a
Right.
success. But the thing that I credit most to him, his business being successful and noticeable in the online marketplace was actually because we branded. We branded his company right from the start. I mean, when I say branded, we gave it a professional logo. We gave it a professional look and feel. It wasn't a DIY like, we wrote the sign out or something like that, right? We branded. And
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
so that's what allowed him to really have an edge in the marketplace. And it is what allowed him to get noticed by an influencer. And this, for a
Oh.
company that didn't do any ads, we tried Facebook ads for a little bit in the beginning, wasn't really successful. I was just testing things out at that time.
Mm-hmm.
But it was he was used by an influencer that happened to live in our neighborhood and goes to our church, and she shared about him to her thousands of followers, right? And the moment that happened, it was like steady business. It was,
Oh,
I
that's
mean,
awesome.
he's booked like for, a month and a half out, which we never thought was going to happen in the beginning. And so I credit that all to branding.
Perfect. That's really a great starter or story. And so I was wondering though, during in that the process that you have, and then for entrepreneurs who are just actually really starting,
Hmm.
right? And branding probably is not one of those things that, I mean, we think about when you first start out, right? Because it does entail, for me, I think it entails somehow at least some technical knowledge if you are going to do it yourself, and certain investment. Because if you don't know how to do graphic design, for example, you need to have a graphic designer or you need a web designer, and it can add up. So why do you think branding is it an essential thing to already start from the start, or can it like, I'm just gonna brand my business when I start, you know, getting money or getting paid for what I do. So why do you think is it is an essential part of your business?
I think, well, it's very essential. And I think one of the things that people think holds them back from branding
Yeah.
or making it look like a professional
Yeah.
look is the in the investment part. Like they think, hey, I have to hire a high a highly charging graphic designer to build my logo or to create my website, right? Or people think that it is you have to be like a big deal company to brand yourself, and these are the things that I teach in my challenge, actually, right? Is you can actually brand yourself with very little to no money, which is what we did, right? Because we were not like some big shot people, and we just literally created our brands from scratch with very little to no money. And that the um the resource that I shared with you, and I know you're going to
Mm-hmm.
make it available to the people
Yeah.
in this group, is that you can actually start branding from the get go for very little to no money. And why do I say it's essential to do it from the start? There are a few things that I believe
Mm-hmm.
is essential first, right? You got to figure out who you're serving first, right? You got to figure out. What is your voice, right? I mean, if you're in this group and if you're a follower of Francis's big impact story or the quiet empowered entrepreneurs network, right? You have a voice already that you've already figured out, right? Whether that is authoritative or you are a friendly voice or you are just depending on the purpose of your business, right? So first is know who you're serving. Next is know what your brand voice is. And you got to commit to those two things first, right? And of course, you've got to have an idea of what it is exactly you're presenting out there or you're selling. Is it a product? Is it a service? Right? So once those things are figured out, whether in your head or on paper, I think it's really, really important to get your branding um, up to speed, because it is literally what sets you apart in the marketplace, whether you're trying to do your business on Facebook or on Instagram or on
Mm-hmm.
another social media platform, especially in this day and age where everybody is taking their business online. I really believe that branding is what gives you the edge.
Mm-hmm. But it's good that you actually mentioned that, because right now it's just, too crowded, too noisy also. There's just so much. I think it's because also the with social media, you can just pretty much start on your own. You can do whatever you want pretty much. Like just go out there and then just
Mhm.
go live or sell something on the side. But then what would separate you from the rest that people would actually think of you as an actual business, right? It's your branding. So I think the
Yes.
next question is, what is actually what is a brand? So when you say that a business is a brand or the business is branding, what is that really? What does that comprise of? So you mentioned about who are you serving, right? So your audience, and then what is your voice? But what else does a brand like is composed of?
Okay, great question. So, first, I think we need to define what branding is to everybody. So, whether
Yeah.
you might have an idea what it is. So, branding is really a brand is how people perceive you or your business, you as a person, your business, or your product, right? And and whether or not you are actively marketing or selling, your brand is what people think about, right? So, or not think about, right? And of course,
Mm-hmm.
you want people to be thinking about you, your business, your brand, even if, or your product, even if you're not actively marketing, right? You want to be a memorable brand.
Yeah.
And with your question, what does that even look like? So the resource that I gave, and it's
Mm-hmm.
called the Brand Essentials Checklist, right? It literally, I boiled it down to 5 things that you need to have a brand. And what it is really is it separates you from you as a person, right? People know Francis as Francis on Facebook or on Instagram. But when you now create a brand like Big Impact Story, they now can see Francis and Big Impact Story as two separate entities. And when you create a brand, you are actually creating a brand new identity
Mm-hmm.
for your business or your company. And it is easier for people to transact with a company rather than a person, especially if it's like a personal friend, or if it's like a
Yeah.
coworker you're connected to. They're going to transact with you more easily as a big impact story, as a brand, rather than the person. Like, if you think about it, we give our money to Apple all the time,
Yeah.
right? Or to Amazon all the time, right? We don't give our money to Steve Jobs or to Jeff Bezos, right? Even though they ultimately pocket all of that, right?
Yeah.
But we transact with a company, we transact with a business, we transact with a brand. And so with all this online marketplace opening up, and you said it's so noisy out there, it's crowded, right? And so our brand is actually what sets us apart, one from our persona, our personal life, right? Which is what people are most likely used to seeing of us on social media, and now separating it, and creating a brand name like Big Impact Story. Mine is New
Mm-hmm.
Mama Media. Um, it just now is separated. So that's the first one, is a brand name. You've got to have a brand name for your business or your company or your movement that you're creating, right? That's the first one. The second one is a logo. A logo sets you apart. And I love this. I think when we talked, Francis, I said, you have a beautiful brand and Big Impact Story, because you got it.
Thank
You got
you.
the name, you got the logo, right? And
Yeah.
so in the resource that I put down like a link to Canva, which you can literally create a free logo from scratch. You don't have to pay for Canva to create a logo, right? But it is, I think, one of the things that separates you. That separates you. Is it essential for you to do business? No, you can do business without it.
Mm-hmm.
But does it make you see? Does it make your business be seen more? Absolutely. If it was just between, if I'm comparing two businesses, and all things being equal, one person is just a person's name and the other has a company name and a branding logo, and all the services are equal, I am most likely going to go with the company that has a name and a logo, because it just appears more legit,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? If the customer service is the same, the product is the same, the pricing is the same, I'm going to go with the one with the brand, because it just seems more legit in the marketplace. Um, and so I think it just helps you cut through the noise
Mm-hmm.
faster, right? And it gets your brand more noticeable out there. It sets you apart from the competition. So I only mentioned two things. I don't know if you want to touch upon
Yeah.
those first.
Brand name, logo, and then yep, I think we have time for the 3 to 5.
The other three. Okay. Yeah. So let me go with the other thing. And you're going to get this in the brand essentials
Yeah.
checklist. I love being able to talk about it right now because people think it's complicated to get to them, but once they hear it and hear it from a branding coach or brand visionary as myself, they're like, okay, it's not really that, you know, it's not really that complicated, or probably I'm
Yeah.
just overthinking it, right? So I mentioned brand name, I mentioned logo, which, like I said, you can create on your own, right? For now, it doesn't mean that brands change all the time,
Right.
or they up level their logos all the time. So in the beginning, maybe it could be just a DIY. And then over time, as you build your business and create more clientele, and then you can, budget some money for a higher, more professionally designed brand. Like nothing stops you from doing that later on. But I think in the beginning, it's important to have one,
Mm-hmm.
to have. So I mentioned logo. The third thing is a color palette,
Mm.
right? A color palette is basically just you committing to 3 to 5, maybe 1 to 2. Just start out, right? Big Impact Story has a color palette. You could immediately tell when you go to when I go to your Facebook page, right? It's the purples and the pinks, and it's like
Mm-hmm.
that's your brand. Um, and so a color palette just again sets you apart because it tells people you thought about your brand. You didn't just throw out a
Right.
mishmash of things out there. And when people can say that you thought about your brand, they're going to immediately feel and think, okay, this person takes time with whatever it is, their service or product that they are putting out there, right? If you thought about your colors and your name and your logo,
Mm-hmm.
you're most likely a person and a business owner who thinks about your services and your product with the same um, devotion, with the same intention, right? These are things that we think of when we tell our story. And it's
Right.
the same thing when we want our brands to speak to our audience, to our people, to our clientele. Um, so, color palette is the third thing. The fourth thing is photography. It's kind of one of those things again where people think, oh, I need to hire a
Yeah.
professional photographer to have a brand set of photography, or I need to own an expensive camera, right, and know how to take beautiful photos to have beautiful brand photography. And I say, if you're gifted with the gift of photography, go for it. You can absolutely create your own brand photos. But if not, like I love photography, but I don't know the technical ins and outs of, camera and uh, you know,
The
the
settings and everything.
the settings and all that stuff,
Yeah.
right? But I know how to pick a set of photos that can create a cohesive look and feel. And again, in the checklist that I gave out, there's a link there to a resource that you can actually get um, stock photos for free for commercial use, right? You don't have to attribute the photographer in this, right? So gone are the days where you have to pay for professional photos for your brand. If you want to do that, eventually nothing stops you from doing that, right? Shutterstock and Getty
Yeah.
Images, like you want to pay for more expensive photography for your website or your brand or your Facebook cover or posts, you can do that. But there's free, very professional grade resources out there that you can use to capture a set of brand photos for your brand. And what you want to look for in photography is just a consistent look and feel, consistent tone, consistent colors. Again, if you're thinking of um, those things as part of your brand, you are more likely thinking about the other details in your products and in your services. So don't let photography hinder you from having a cohesive brand, that you're communicating to your marketplace, because it's very accessible to get a collection of brand photos for free for commercial use for your brand. So that is the fourth thing, right? And then the next thing and the last thing here is typography. um, I think it's one of those things where it's either easy for you or not. And what I want to say is just pick out two, right? Two fonts that's either your headliner font and your body font. You can pick a third font that's accent, that you can use for your posts. Whether you're posting on Instagram and Facebook, right? Or you're posting or creating content in YouTube, right? Just commit to a couple of fonts that you're going to use
Hmm.
consistently. In the beginning, probably trial and error to see what jives with your personality and your people, right? But once you commit to those, it's kind of one of those like set it and forget it type things. It's like, okay, I now committed to some brand typography. Now I could just use that. It doesn't have to take up my my energy, my space anymore. It takes that decision making out of the way now, so you can concentrate on serving your clients,
Yeah.
on building more products, right? Creating more services and value for your audience. So those are the things that I have listed in that brand essentials checklist. It's super simple. I didn't make this like complicated
Yeah.
with descriptions and all that stuff, because I figured we're going to talk about it here. All it is a checklist. It lists down those five things. You can take a day. Honestly, that's why my challenge group is called Build Your Brand in 5 days, right? If you can take a day for each of those, and you don't need to have a lot of money to get this out. The only commitment you need is time, right? And picking them out, committing to certain things, and then if help is needed along the way, that's what I'm here for. That's what you're here for, and the story part of things, right? But yeah, so to have just a noticeable, memorable brand out there is those five essentials, five basic things.
Oh, that's great. Thank you, Kay, for sharing that. So it's when you said that, it sounded like it's actually simpler than most of us, think. Because probably when we say brand, we actually we the first things that come to our mind are the Apples, and the Amazons of the world, right? So these are huge corporations. They have so much money to invest in actually, making themselves the brands that they are right now.
Yes.
And but for us who are starting out, or for those emerging entrepreneurs out there, or even for leaders and creatives who is their own personal brand, right?
Mhm.
So they can apply, or you can apply the same, all these five things too, in branding yourself, right?
Mhm.
So especially for those who probably are maybe authors or musicians, so
Yes.
what separates you from the rest, right?
Mhm.
Because of course right now it's just like having a microphone, a computer, you can sing, you can right, you can talk, you can speak in front of the computer and all that. But what would make people listen? What would make your voice be, cut through the noise? So
Yes.
one of those things is actually also branding. And
Mhm.
I'm just curious to know, Kay, on your end, like what is your favorite brand that you're actually like really looking into, in terms of like maybe a case study or something like that. That you mentioned Apple, right? Which is, of course, one of the for me on my end, one of the best brands out there. If you want to study it and see what they did with the Apple brand and making them who they are right now. So, do you have any other in mind?
Yes, I actually do. So I mentioned earlier to you, am I cutting off? I could just see like a little lag on my end. Hopefully, I'm not cutting
No,
off.
no, you're fine.
Perfect. So I mentioned, I think earlier, that we're in the process of moving, right? And so we're, packing boxes, all that stuff. I think you see some of my boxes in the background.
Hmm.
um, but there's a company local to us here in Phoenix called Tuft and Needle, and they are a mattress company, right? And I love that they innovated, and they have that innovation component as part of their brand. Obviously, they have all the things that I mentioned, right? Beautiful logo, professional.
Yeah.
Um, photography and all that stuff. But also is they innovated the mattress industry, and then they have a beautiful brand story behind them, right? It's created by these two young
Mm-hmm.
engineers that are like, okay, there's got to be a better way to buying a mattress out there than going to, the mat like the common named like mattress brands, right? Why are they so expensive? Why do you
Yeah.
have to go through like a crazy salesperson process to buy a bed, right? And they innovated that whole thing. So they're local to us here in Phoenix. I'm from Scottsdale, Arizona. And then they also have a charity component.
I
So
love
they
it.
give back. So a lot of the brands that I like to think of and support is that it's not just about themselves. It's not just about making money. It is about serving and giving back to the community. So that's just one thing off the top of my head that I can think of. One, because it's local to me here. It's something that we're probably going to shop around for in the next few weeks. And then also that they have a giving back component. They give back to the community as part of their brand.
Actually, that's really great. Thank you for mentioning that. And for sharing also the story of that. It's a local business, but it's it makes them separate from the rest instead of you buying from a big named mattress
Mhm.
company. You chose them, right? So I think I wanted to relate it also to, let's say, the brand that I have. So it's Big Impact Story. It's pretty much because of that too. It's not just doing the work, right? It's not just
Mhm.
being in business, but actually also what is your business doing for others, and how is your business helping other people, right? And not just to okay, make sales, get profit, etc., or get yourself out there, be known, or things like that. But it's really going deeper, and that I feel is also part of the branding itself. So in terms of the story, right? So putting in the the actual the visual branding, okay, that
Yeah.
those five components, that five elements that you mentioned, plus the story that you have that comes with it, is also one thing that separates you from others, right? Because it's not just you're a mattress company, but you are
Yes.
a mattress company that is innovative, right? So
Yeah.
so you wanted to take out the pain of
Mm-hmm.
buying a mattress, and and then not only that, but you have a good story that comes with it, and you're helping others. So I think that's like the overall, you have a
Yes.
good brand package. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that's more and more people, especially during these times, are now more purpose driven when it comes
Yes.
to their businesses, and that's, I think, is a good thing. So I know that you also support that, right? And especially that you're helping mostly emerging entrepreneurs and leaders out there who are doing
Yeah.
that. So I wanted to know also, I know you've been working with you've started your group coaching program, you've done a lot of like clients, and I wanted to know if you have, like, how were your clients able to have I think I wanted to know the story that they have in terms of birthing their own
Mhm.
brands with your help.
Yes, I love that you use the birth. Yeah, because that's what I use. I actually don't even want to call myself a coach because I feel like I don't know. Like, so I help birth brands
I love
for
it.
business
Yeah.
owners. Yes, emerging leaders, right? A big part of that is my motherhood comes into play into that whole name, right? New Mama
Yeah.
started out as New Mama Diaries, which was my blog from like a long time ago. And when I changed it, I said, my motherhood and my faith, those are two things that are a big part of who I am and my brand. And so whenever I have a chance to talk about my story, whether it is in my challenge group or outside, I actually speak of those things. And it all just kind of marries itself in this nice cohesive story, right? But when you ask about, okay, how did I specifically help, so I just literally launched, even though I've been branding, I want to say for 20
Hmm.
years, I literally just launched New Mama Media officially in July of this year. So after going through some heavy just mentorship and coaching for myself, right, investing in those programs since the end of March of this year, it just all magically came together. And I'm like, okay, that component that you said was giving back. The giving back
Mhm.
part is okay. I've been doing these things for fun, like for myself, for my family, all these years. And the thing that hit me was okay, if I could help my husband literally build a company from scratch and brand it, and it is now what is putting money on the table for us. It more than tripled the income that he was making from his corporate job now, right? It's possible for two people with no entrepreneurial
Mhm.
experience
Mhm.
to make a successful brand. And I said, okay, if we can do that for ourselves, then I can help my family or my husband do that, right? Why don't I help other people do that? And so when I launched my first challenge back in July, I had one person in the challenge, and all she was just, she had all the other pieces going already. She had a Facebook page and a group and all that stuff, but she was stuck on a name that she wanted to launch her business platform on. And so it was just literally, we had a call and she just asked, like, okay, what do you think of this versus this word? And I just gave her the answer. And from there, it was just like everything else flowed openly, right? Because it's like this plug that got open and it literally
Mhm.
birthed in her brand. She was stuck on her name. And one word versus another to use on her name. And I just, you know, gave her an answer. She is literally launching her course this month. In a couple of weeks, she's
Wow.
launching her course. And she attributes it to, hey, Kay, you've really actually helped me literally launch. She had all the pieces. She was just stuck with a name for her brand. And so that one helped, right? So it got her to, buy your domain, right? If you already have a name, buy your domain, claim your name in the marketplace because everybody's claiming
Yeah.
their their um their names now, whether it's a domain or a
Mhm.
Facebook group or a Facebook page, right? If you have a name in mind, go ahead. It doesn't cost money to stake your claim out there right now in the marketplace. So if you have those business names and business ideas, um, Facebook groups are free, you guys. Facebook pages are free. YouTube accounts are free. Like Instagram accounts are free.
Yeah.
I call them branding assets, right? They are business assets. They're assets for your business. It costs little to no money to put those things and claim them on the marketplace right now, right? I mean, granted, domains cost a little more money. So those would take a little bit more, just, think it through. They're a little bit more permanent or whatnot. But all the other ones are free. So go and claim your brand names
Yeah.
out there.
It's like,
Right.
oh, this is mine, right? I mean, in
Yeah.
Facebook alone, right? In Facebook
Mhm.
alone, like Facebook groups right now, it's very hot, right? It's one of those hottest things that's everyone just pretty much like at least those who are in the already in the as entrepreneurs already at least have a Facebook group and
Yeah.
with Instagram too. And I mean, YouTube, of course, is always there. Wow, yeah. But yeah, I mean, this is really interesting that you actually mentioned that you only started, at least I know, going online, but I mean, you've been doing like branding work offline with
Mhm.
clients, but then
Yeah.
COVID started and then you had to pivot and do this online, right? So also that's one of the things that I feel is very commendable on your end, that you were able to pivot fast and learn to adapt with the times, and knowingly that branding is one of those important elements in a business, and it's very much needed. Your voice is very much needed also online. I mean, in
Yeah.
the digital world. So that's where we are right now. That's where most of us are, and I think
Mhm.
it still continues. So I'm glad to hear that you have started this challenge of yours, right? So it's the build your brand in 5 days, and that's actually how I found you and thought of it as something that is exciting. And I mean, who wouldn't want to have a brand after 5 days, right? I mean, the branding is like, for me, it's really birthing pretty much, because the name alone,
Mhm.
it has to be like how do I name it? And it just there's an art to it also at the same time. But I guess not to mention that it's also the fun should still be there, right? That it's not
Yes.
like, oh my god, I'm gonna have my brand and all that, but there's the fun should be there. You should be enjoying doing branding and all that. So, Kay, I know you've given us this resource, and
Mhm.
you gave us this checklist of which I am going to post the link to, and you can download this. Is very It's one page. It's one page checklist, and it has all those five elements there that you can start. Once you have it, you can actually start now in branding your business. So, how else are they? Can they reach out to you if they're interested in working with you?
Yeah, so thank you so much. So one thing with the resource, I actually put clickable links um, in the resource. So under the source column, you can actually click on the logo source or the color palette source. So this way, you could just literally click on them and then head straight to those websites to get those resources to get your brand started. So I've made it super simple. I've made it very straightforward, like I said, because I feel like we do so many things out there. We see so many things out there now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's giving free downloads and free resources. Um, but timing is of the essence right
Yeah.
now. When you said that I was able to pivot pretty fast, I attribute it to um, two things. Is one is being mentored, right? I invested in myself in mentorship programs since March, and then I hired a coach. I hired a coach that literally helped me not overthink things too much, right? Because that was my big challenge in everything that I did is I overthink
Yeah.
things all the time. And when I realize and I observe like the things that she does, I'm like, okay, it doesn't really require that much effort to get a PDF out there, right? Or to create a link or something, right? Um, but the thing is, it's knowing what people do,
Mm-hmm.
like that someone already is doing ahead of you successfully. That is actually what sped things up for me. It accelerated the process of launching this business online. And yes, I do have clients offline, but everybody's doing their business
Yeah.
online right now. And so like when you said when COVID hit, I had all my client work pretty much stopped like in the beginning of March, like right when all of this started, right? And so in the beginning, I was like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. I have more time to spend with the kids and all that stuff. But after a couple of weeks, it became pretty apparent that it's like, okay, what do I do now? You know, so part of it is a few months of learning, right? A lot of attending challenges,
Mm-hmm.
yes. Um, and getting myself up to speed to what is it that people are successfully doing out there that I can also put into place in my own business as I pivot to online, right? And so that's one thing. Two is hiring a coach, like I said, right,
Mm-hmm.
and putting into action what
Yeah.
my coach is telling me to do, right? And so to reach me, you can actually do two things, right? The quickest thing to reach me if you're trying to get help with branding is first is join my challenge group, build your brand in 5 days. Um, I am regularly giving out challenges. So I did a challenge in July. I did one in August. If we were in the middle of a move, I would be in a challenge right now. I discovered I like doing challenges, right? I plan on doing one next month. So in October, I plan on doing a challenge, and it literally will take you through 5 days of very intentional um, uh, lessons, right? And homeworks, right? Because that's part of a challenge to literally take you from maybe having a whole hum brand to having a professional brand in 5 days, or having no brand to having a brand
Mm-hmm.
in 5 days. Um, And so that's the first one, is join the challenge group. The next one is you can just very quickly connect with me through social media, through Instagram and Facebook. I am New Mama Media. So being a fresh brand online, both of those platforms, you're gonna see very fresh, like just things that just literally happened in the last
Mm-hmm.
couple of months. So the beauty about brand building is, and what I tell myself, which is the same lesson that I learned from my husband, is you just got to start somewhere, right? Don't be discouraged by the little activity or no action,
Mm-hmm.
or no following and all that stuff. You just got to start somewhere. And the moment you start, it's like, it's just, you're, the only way you could go is up, right? It's like you can't go from zero to negative followers
Yeah.
because
Yeah. Right.
the
Yes.
only way you can go is up. You're just building up your brand in the process. But it's deciding to put yourself out there first is one, right? Knowing that you have a story to tell. You have a story to tell. Every single person, either on this group now, watching live or watching the replay, we all have a story to tell, right? And the only way it's gonna get out there is if we decide to tell it,
Yeah.
right? We have to decide first to tell it. Once we decide to tell it, everything else just flows magically, because um, I feel like, the universe or your God or everything will just come together because you've opened up this space to accept, right? To help other people. That's why we're here. That's why we're in business. Yes, the money comes eventually, right? But the first thing is, like, when you take yourself from being a self-centered, it's about
Mm-hmm.
me, like what you said, and make it now other-centered. You're in business to help propel others, to help bring people up. I'm in business so your brands can be seen. If you can't be seen, you can't help your who, right? You can't be found. If you can't be found, you can't serve. So, first is deciding that you have a story to tell, telling it, and deciding very intentionally that, hey, I want to be found through my brand, and moving forward in that process.
Oh, I
Oh,
love
I
it.
love it.
I love it,
I
Kay.
love
Thank
it,
you
Kate.
so
Thank
much.
you so
And
much.
it's
And
really
it's
great
really
that you
great that
actually
you actually
emphasized
emphasized
on
on
first is the
first is,
courage, right? It's the courage to actually commit
yes.
to tell the story, to tell your own
Mhm.
story, which is like, by the way, no one else can tell, right? Except you, because it's your own. It's or your own
Mhm.
unique story to tell. And second is to really go out there and take action, because even if you decide and you do nothing, right? Or you decide to do nothing afterwards, then you deprive us of your gift, right?
Mhm.
So I love that you said that, you are there, you are in business because you want their brands to be seen, or you want them to be seen. And I think that's a perfect way to actually end, right, this conversation we have. And yeah, so for those of you out there who are still, like thinking about, wow, where am I going, what am I going to do, or how is this business going to help me, who am I, what brand am I, it's just the start. And we have given you tools to start with. And Kay here has that free gift, that five things, the checklist to start with. And eventually, as you go along, you will be able to, like, things will start falling into place, and you will discover yourself, you will discover your clients. And along the way, you also get to evolve as a business, as a brand, as you as a person. So with that, Case, thank you so much for being here. I'm really, really happy to be able to have this conversation with you, and I hope that this is not the last time that you're going to grace us with your presence. And we would love to have you here once again, maybe a workshop or a masterclass or something like that that you could share with us. So yeah, so that's it. Thanks everyone for those of you who are able to join us live. If not, this is recorded, and you can definitely watch it again. And yeah, and then I'll be posting this also in YouTube, so that you may be able to share this with your friends or those you feel who can benefit from this also. All right. So thank you all again. And I hope you all have a wonderful week ahead. And until next Monday for the next mindset training. All right. Bye.
You.